So no legislature can even move a bill. This is what makes it permanent. This is exactly why it is permanent. It had to be temporary because at that time there was no constituent assembly. It was temporary, it had to be temporary. Per force it was temporary. Even 3 cannot be amended. Section 3 cannot be amended.
But can the permanency of Article 370 be a consequence which follows from the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir?
No, it's made applicable to Jammu and Kashmir by an application order.
No, but you're saying that this provision,
yes,
Article 147 of the J&K Constitution, yes, makes Article 370 permanent. Can the permanency of the Indian Constitution...
Because, let's kindly see, the 370 was made applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir by an application order. 373, let's kindly... Subclause 3 gives powers to the Constituent Assembly, no?
Those powers clearly
doesn't have. That legislature doesn't have those powers. Ultimately, what happens is when you impose Article 356, you took over the powers of the legislature. Under which power did they exercise that right?
Not of the legislative assembly.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying, Malad.
Mr. Sibal,
how this proviso C will applicable?
Yeah.
How can you are saying Article 147 gives the permanency to Article 370?
Because the Constituent Assembly. I'm sorry, I shouldn't interrupt you, Lord.
Now, can the Constitution of J&K give a permanency to Article 370 of the Constitution of India?
Exactly.
Well, that's all we are saying is that the Legislative Assembly does not have the power under 370 subclause 3. That's all that I'm saying, nothing more than that.
What you are saying is Legislative Assembly cannot exercise the power under the proviso to clause 3
yes,
of Article
so
370.
That's why they did. They converted the Legislative Assembly into the Constituent Assembly. That's what they did, Malaj. This is what is shocking.
The lighter side, the Parliament did it.
I'm sorry?
On the lighter side, the Parliament did it.
Yes. So Parliament converted itself into the Constituent Assembly of the state. I mean, it's unheard of. Yes, no means but we'll show it. We'll show it. We'll demonstrate that. At the moment, all I'm saying is, Millers, you cannot exercise, the legislature cannot exercise powers to amend 373. Yes, even some other body takes over those powers, that only powers can be exercised is the powers of the legislature, nothing more than that. That's the whole scheme of 356 is if you take over.
Parliament can do it or not.
Yeah, Parliament exercises the powers of the legislature under 356. It can't exercise any other power. And that's the scheme of 356, which I'll come to later. That's Bomai, mothers. Now that's settled. You can't arrogate to yourself a power that the legislature doesn't have. That's why there's an interplay between the Constitution of India, the Constitution orders applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir and 370 itself.
That's what you flagged in the beginning when you began your speech.
That's the issue.
Actually, Article 147, the second proviso to Section 147 of the J&K Constitution, would seem to indicate that the provisions of the J&K Constitution are treated to be subordinate to the Indian Constitution. Which is why no amendment in the relationship of the Indian Constitution and its application to the state can be introduced in the state legislature. The state legislature cannot change that relationship.
Correct, but I'm not disputing that. It is the legislature cannot introduce a bill to that effect. And what's the procedure? Only under 370. It's only under 370.
But this is in that sense a subordinate instrument in its application to the
Well,
in its
it's-
relationship
it's a
to the
subordinate-
Constitution of India.
But let's kindly see, one second, kindly see, just 1 minute. Huh? Kindly see the Constituent Assembly has now framed the Constitution. The Constituent Assembly has not exercised the power that it had, Malaks, to abrogate 370. In that process, the Constituent Assembly, when drafting the Constitution, decided that nobody can change that status. The legislature cannot change that status. Now, whether Parliament on its own can change that status is a separate issue, but the legislature cannot change that status. That's the element of permanency as far as the legislature is concerned. Let me put it that way.
The legislature has no authority to change the relationship between.
That's correct.
That's what
Legislature
you're
cannot
saying.
change. Why? Because this is not a temporary provision. Come to that. That's clear, Manoj. Section 3. Same thing. Section 3. The Legislative Assembly also can't touch below the provision that the state of Jammu and Kashmir and shall be an integral part of India. Section 3. It also can't touch extent of executive and legislative power of the state. Can't touch that. And it can't touch 370. So from the point of view of the Constituent Assembly, when the legislation was drafted and the Constitution was drafted, it was clear that this relationship is permanent.
Just one question. The proviso to Article 147 of the J&K Constitution says that no bill or amendment seeking to make change in the provisions of the Constitution of India is applicable
Yes.
in relation to a state
Yes.
means a change in the Constitution of India. Whereas, as per clause 3 of Article 370, it's not the amendment which is applicable. As per that, it's the consent or the consultation